I gotta tell you about a place. And I gotta tell you about it now, 'cause this story is breaking in real time. Reporters at NBC News and the Marshall Project just published a major investigation a few months ago, and the Bureau of Prisons is being forced to answer for it. Congressmen are involved. Whistleblowers are speaking out. Survivors are coming forward. And almost nobody outside the criminal justice world is talking about it yet. So we bout to. The place is called Federal Prison Camp Bryan, FPC Bryan for short. It's in Bryan, Texas, about an hour and a half outside Houston. It holds around 600 women, most of them convicted of nonviolent and white-collar crimes. Fraud, drugs, tax stuff. Some of them are high profile. The most famous prisoner in the building right now is Ghislaine Maxwell. Yeah, Epstein's partner, that Ghislaine Maxwell. She's been there since 2025. And from the outside, Bryan looks like nothing, like a college campus. There's bungalows and crepe myrtle trees on the streets around it. The women live in dormitory-style rooms without doors. Yeah, no locks, no bars, nothing between them and the hallway. They walk around in khakis and boots. They go to work assignments, meals, recreation, all on their own. The Bureau of Prisons calls it a minimum security camp. On paper, it's supposed to be the easiest federal time you can do. But here's what the joint investigation by NBC News and the Marshall Project just found. At least 8 women have come forward with on-the-record accounts of being pressured into unwanted sex acts or inappropriately touched by Bryan staff members. 3 former staff members, the people who worked there, corroborated the allegations and said they themselves faced retaliation for trying to report misconduct. These incidents took place in areas of the prison that don't have security cameras, storage closets, deserted corners of the buildings, places staff knew the cameras couldn't see. That ain't a bug, that's how it works. Officers learn where the blind spots are, and that's where the abuse happens. And it ain't been just guards. The reporters documented allegations against a prison chaplain who's accused of repeatedly abusing one woman, including inside the prison chapel itself. A medical professional accused of conducting unnecessary and painful pelvic examinations, and who reportedly stayed in their position for months even after formal complaints was filed, continuing to see patients. Both of those individuals are no longer employed at Bryan, but the circumstances of their departure ain't been made clear. They didn't go to prison, they just left. In total, 5 staff members have been accused. 2 of them are still working at Bryan today. Now let me show you the pattern, 'cause this story you might be hearing for the first time. But the system has heard this story before, and not that long ago. There was another federal women's prison in California called FCI Dublin, east of Oakland. It opened in the 1970s and operated until April of 2024. Inside it, the abuse got so bad, so systemic, so well documented that the prisoners themselves, gave the prison a nickname. They called it the Rape Club. That ain't me being provocative. That is the nickname the women inside used. And it stuck because it was true. In December 2024, the federal government settled with 103 survivors of FCI Dublin for $115.8 million. The largest settlement in Bureau of Prisons history. By December 2025, nearly 300 more women were expected to file additional sexual assault claims and lawsuits. Multiple Dublin officers had already pleaded guilty or been convicted. The warden himself was federally indicted. The Bureau of Prisons couldn't reform it. The federal courts couldn't reform it. They had to shut Dublin down completely. Less than a year later, here's Bryan, with the same accusations, the same pattern, the same retaliation against women who report, the same staff members operating in the same camera blind spots. And there's something about Bryan specifically I gotta tell you about, because this is where the story gets even harder to look at. In October 2025, a senior congressman, Rep. Robert Garcia, ranking member of the Oversight Committee, sent a formal letter to the Bryan warden demanding answers about Ghislaine Maxwell's treatment at the facility. The letter alleges that Maxwell has been getting preferential treatment, extra supplies, private meals, a puppy? Yeah, a puppy, despite a rule that excludes sex offenders from that program. The congressman accused the Bureau of Prisons of stonewalling their investigation into the irregular circumstances of Maxwell's transfer to Bryan, including some unexplained communications between Maxwell and a top Department of Justice official. In January of 2026, Garcia and Rep. Jamie Raskin sent another letter, this time to the Attorney General. They wrote that the alleged instances of sexual abuse at FPC Bryan are numerous, detailed, and substantiated. Their words. They demanded a Department of Justice Inspector General investigation. They scheduled an oversight visit. They demanded the warden, Dr. Tanisha Hall, be made available for a transcribed interview. The investigation into Bryan is ongoing as of the time of this video. So put it together. Here's what we got. We got a federal women's prison where the official descriptions all sound great. Minimum security, dormitory style, work programs, rehabilitation. And inside it, you got Ghislaine Maxwell apparently living better than the other women on the basis of her connections, while 600 other women are dealing with the same kind of staff abuse the federal government just paid out $116 million over at the last prison they had to shut down for this exact thing. And the staff doing the abusing, most of them ain't been arrested. Some of them are still on the payroll. They walk around the same hallways the women walk around. They know who reported. They know who didn't. They know which camera blind spots ain't covered. And the women, the same way the women at Lowell and Dublin was, they being retaliated against. The women who reported was moving to other facilities, getting written up, getting stripped of privileges. The staff whistleblowers, the former officers who tried to do the right thing, they was forced out of their jobs. The Bureau of Prisons knows. The Department of Justice knows. Congress knows. The reporters at the Marshall Project and NBC News laid it all out, on the record, with sources and documents. And the prison is still operating, today, right now, while you watching this. Now, I want to be straight with you about something. The data from the Bureau of Prisons itself shows that sexual abuse offenses reported within the federal system have increased by over 62% between 2020 and 2024. 62%. The problem ain't just Bryan. It ain't just Dublin. It ain't just Lowell. It is the system. The way federal women's prisons are structured, with mostly male staff, with poor oversight, with women dependent on staff for every basic thing they need, produces this same outcome over and over and over again. They shut one down, the same thing happens at another one. It's structural. It is built in. So when somebody tells you Dublin was a bad apple, that the federal government cleaned it up and we should move on, show them Bryan. Show them the 8 women who came forward. Show them the chaplain. Show them the medical professional. Show them the fact that 2 of the accused staff are still walking those hallways today. Tell them that the system itself keeps producing the same harm, because the system itself is the problem. And while we at it, I know there's some folks who's going to comment that Maxwell deserves whatever happens to her. I ain't here to defend her. She got convicted of helping Jeffrey Epstein traffic underage girls. She earned her sentence. That ain't the point. The point is, if a prison is so corrupt that the most famous woman inside it is getting coddled with private meals and puppies, while 600 other women is getting assaulted in storage closets, then that ain't a justice system. That's two completely different countries operating inside the same building. And it tells you something real ugly about who the system actually punishes and who it really protects. I'll keep doing these. There's more places worth showing you. But I wanted you to see Bryan, because Bryan is the new version of an old story. The federal government just paid out the biggest sexual abuse settlement in its own history a year and a half ago, and they already run in another one of the exact same kind of places, and another set of women is coming forward right now. The story ain't over. It's just starting fresh. And nobody outside this small world of reporters and advocates is really watching. That's all I got. Be safe out there. And to any woman watching who's lived through something like this, I see you. The federal government will eventually pay out on this one too. They always do. But the money don't fix what was done. It never does.